Welcome to another explainer. Today, we are diving into the absolute giant that is the software as a service industry, or as we all know it, SaaS. Now, if you're working today, you're almost certainly using it already. But really understanding the nuts and bolts of these platforms, that can completely change how you view, build, and optimize your entire tech stack. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll welcome you to the cloud. Then we'll weigh SaaS against traditional software, check out the top 10 SaaS titans, and unpack the underlying business model. Finally, we'll talk about how to choose your own SaaS stack and peek into the AI-powered future.
Let's kick things off with part 1, Welcome to the Cloud.
To really grasp this concept that has totally revolutionized global business over the last couple of decades, you have to look at the main shift. And it's actually pretty simple. Instead of buying a pricey software license, messing with complex IT infrastructure, and physically installing it on a hard drive, you just make it account. You subscribe, and boom, you access incredibly sophisticated tech right there in your web browser. The provider handles all the heavy lifting for us: the cloud storage, the processing power, the automatic updates. It's a total game changer, especially for startups and small businesses who can suddenly tap into enterprise-level tech without building a massive server room.
Which brings us nicely to part 2, SaaS versus traditional software.
The best way to think about the shift is kind of like renting a fully furnished apartment that comes with a 24/7 maintenance crew versus building a whole house completely from scratch. SaaS just removes the headache of IT infrastructure. In the old days, traditional software meant high upfront license fees, rigid local installations, and you were stuck managing all the updates yourself. But with SaaS, you get a much lower initial cost, automatic updates that just happen in the background, and ultimate scalability. Whether you're a scrappy team of 5 or a global workforce of 5,000, it just works.
Moving on to part 3, let's look at the heavyweights, the top 10 SaaS titans.
Let's group some of the world's most influential SaaS products by the specific operational headaches they solve. Because honestly, these aren't just tools anymore. They are massive ecosystems. First up, we've got the CRM and marketing engines. Salesforce is basically the undisputed pioneer here. They proved to the world that complex customer relationship management could actually live safely in the cloud, offering these incredibly customizable tools for large sales teams. Right alongside them is HubSpot. They built this flawless ecosystem connecting inbound marketing directly to your sales pipeline. You can attract a visitor, nurture them with an email campaign, and close the sale literally all in one place. Next up are the productivity suites, the absolute backbone of how we work today. You've got Microsoft 365, which took familiar heavyweights like Word and Excel and bundled them seamlessly with Teams and OneDrive. And on the flip side, there's Google Workspace. They really stood out by focusing on native, real-time collaboration right inside the browser. Remember when multiple people typing in a doc at the exact same time without creating a bunch of conflicting versions seemed like magic? Yeah, that was a total game changer for teams everywhere. For staying connected, we have the communicators. Slack pretty much revolutionized internal chat. They took those heavy, confusing email chains and swapped them out for searchable, real-time team channels. And then there's Zoom. Zoom managed to scale globally just by making video conferencing incredibly simple. No word configurations, no downloading 5 different plugins, just click a link and you are in the meeting. Finally, let's talk about the builders and creators. Adobe proved that incredibly heavy professional design software, think Premiere Pro and Photoshop, could be delivered smoothly through a cloud subscription. Shopify came along and massively simplified e-commerce infrastructure so you can launch a full storefront without knowing how to code. Jira became the gold standard for software developers running complex agile sprints, and Notion, they basically combined wikis, notes, and project dashboards into one hyper-flexible workspace. It's essentially digital building blocks for your brain. All right, let's dive into the economics in part 4, the SaaS business model. So moving past the actual products themselves, why do investors and founders absolutely obsess over this industry? Well, it all comes down to the recurring revenue loop. Traditional software was usually a one-and-done transaction. But with SaaS, instead of one massive upfront fee, customers pay continuously for uninterrupted service. You subscribe, the platform delivers, and the service continues. For the software company, that creates highly predictable, scalable, and compounding revenue over time. To track all of this sustainable growth, companies obsess over vital signs like MRR, or monthly recurring revenue. Together with annual recurring revenue, this tells a business exactly what baseline income they can expect to bring in next month. It is literally the lifeblood of a SaaS company.
Knowing that reliable cash flow is coming means they can confidently forecast growth and invest heavily in building out new features for you. But hey, revenue is only half the story, right? SaaS platforms have to constantly balance their CAC, that's customer acquisition cost, against their customer lifetime value. Basically, they have to be absolutely sure they aren't spending more on marketing and sales to win a customer than that customer is actually going to pay them over the entire lifespan of their subscription. It's a super delicate, highly data-driven balancing act, and it's exactly what makes or breaks a cloud business. Now, let's make this practical for us in part 5, choosing your SaaS stack. With literally thousands of tools out there vying for your monthly subscription, how do you audit your own stack and pick the right platforms without bleeding money on useless apps? Well, before you even look at software features or some slick pricing page, I want you to ask yourself this one fundamental question. What exact problem are you trying to solve? The absolute best SaaS products don't just offer cool tech, they solve a very specific business bottleneck. If team communication is a mess, look at Slack. If it's selling stuff online, look at Shopify. Always start with the problem, not the software. Once you've nailed down the problem and checked off the crucial stuff like integrations and data security, you need to look at the true cost. And listen, it is never just the $20 monthly fee. The total SaaS cost formula has to include implementation time, integrating it with your current setup, training your staff, ongoing support, and what it costs to add new users as your team grows. If you ignore those hidden factors, a supposedly cheap tool can quickly become the most expensive asset in your business. Finally, let's look at what's next in part 6, the AI-powered future. We are looking right at the horizon here because the entire SaaS ecosystem is evolving at lightning speed. We're rapidly shifting from static tools to incredibly intelligent, proactive assistants. Welcome to the era of AI SaaS. By injecting artificial intelligence, a CRM isn't just a digital filing cabinet anymore. It's actively analyzing data to predict sales opportunities, summarizing your customer calls, and literally recommending the exact next step a salesperson should take. We're turning software into a partner that actively helps you make better decisions and saves you countless hours on boring, repetitive workflows. As we wrap up this explainer on the massive shift to the cloud, I want to leave you with this final thought. As AI becomes more autonomous, will tomorrow's SaaS just help you work, or will it actually do the work for you? Take a hard look at your tech stack today. Is it truly solving your problems, or is it just adding complexity? Thanks for exploring the SaaS ecosystem with us today, and remember to keep questioning the tech you use every single day.